Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack, and the weekend is here. It's football weekend. We're heading into October, wrapping up September. Are you betting the games? If so, how is that going? You making any money? My clients and I starting that momentum train going. September, not a huge month, but consistent winning selections week after week have built us a little bit of profit. Last week, much better. The selections go 6-2 over the weekend, 4-1 on Saturday, 2-1 on Sunday. Turned a nice profit over the weekend. Free baseball on a 13-3 run. And also, the opinions did not do as well last week, but over the course of the season, the opinions also generating extra profit as well. So let me bring on my co-host from Louisville, Kentucky. Let's get you signed up, get you ready for this weekend. As we're really hitting our stride right now, Mr. Brandon Rush from Louisville, Kentucky, as we turn the page into October. If you don't know it now, you're probably not going to know it ever. So time to get signed up if you're out there. What were your thoughts about last weekend?
It was an interesting weekend to see, some teams that really kind of put themselves in positions to really make a statement. We saw the Miami Dolphins hang 10 touchdowns on Denver, and then you see a team like Notre Dame who looked like they were poised to maybe make that jump and ran 2 consecutive plays with 10 dudes on the field. So there's differing levels a month in of preparation meeting opportunity, and some teams just not rising to the occasion just yet.
Yeah, I mean, a close one. I mean, how do we feel if they actually get a stop there at the end of the game with Notre Dame, Ohio State? I mean, Ohio State has been the heir apparent in the Big Ten as far as a representative goes in the tournament to play for it all. But they were almost a loser there. They still have Michigan coming up. Michigan, one of the only teams in the country that's not covered a game yet. There's 9 of them left, and they have not covered one game, along with Vanderbilt, Illinois, Minnesota, NC State, Troy, Texas, San Antonio, Baylor, and Georgia. So if you're betting the dogs barking around at all the games on Saturday, you are not making money either. 4 teams have covered every game so far this year. Oklahoma Sooners, Oregon, Penn State, UNLV, actually 5, and Liberty. So if you're a fan base of one of those teams and betting them every week, that's paying off. You're Kenny Rogers right now. Congratulations. Brandon, you talk about the Ohio State Notre Dame game, and I do think it's important. I haven't said this yet this year, but I do think it's important to that people out there understand that the Big Ten is the most overrated conference in the country, no matter what,
and it has been for a number of years.
If you go back to 2007, and so you Big Ten fans are like, "Yeah, we're great. No, you're not. You're just okay." If you go back to 2007, Brandon, did you know that there have been national championships earned by the Big Ten Conference? You know how many national championships? And we're not just talking about football, basketball, baseball, and softball. Do you know how many national championships the Big Ten has won since 2007?
So we're talking 16-year, or excuse me, a 16-year span across those 4 sports. I'm trying. I mean, I can place them in like Final Fours, national championship games.
They've won.
One.
The Big Ten has won. Ohio State won the national championship in football. The SEC is 31.
Good. That's a vast disparity.
So let's put some perspective on Ohio State, and us talking smack on Lou Holtz that I thought was actually dead. So good to hear that Lou Holtz is still alive. I'd like to think that the coach for Ohio State was not talking crap on
a dead guy.
Man.
Yeah.
So congratulations on Lou Holtz holding it together. I found out a lot this weekend. Lou Holtz is still alive. Jimmy Carter's still alive.
Somehow. The dude's been in a hospice since February, and he's still kicking.
Roseanne, his wife, is it Roseanne? Roseanne, whatever. Rosalind, whatever her name is, Mrs. Carter. Everybody's still alive. So
I mean, sometimes history forgets about people who don't often do things, and I'm with you. If Lou Holtz, I could have swore had kicked the bucket already, but
right. I mean, all 3 of those people.
Not that we're like wishing it upon them, but
to the contrary, I'm glad they're all alive.
Right.
I wish we would find the fountain of youth. They could live forever. We're losing very, very good people to death. Death is a horrible thing. Death and taxes. I mean, they are undefeated.
Comes for all of us.
It really does, and I wish we could reverse that. Somebody needs to get a potion or something. So in the meantime, I'll give you a potion. You want to make some money this week, go to fatjacksports.com. Get signed up. Everybody, last week, hundreds and hundreds of people signed up for the $99 special. Like, oh my gosh, you gave a $99 special away. That's amazing. Those players all won money. 4-1 on Saturday, 2-1 on Sunday with the selections. Opinions lost a little bit over the weekend. That's why we play them for less, or they're optional. It's all posted under the results tab. Go to the questions tab to see how we play UFC, the free baseball. It's 13-3. We're not going to have mail time, but I will talk about opinions versus baseball. I just think it's interesting the perception of people. People are just generally, a lot of them are just haters.
Sure.
And I think it's fascinating to me on this end, the emails I get regarding different things and how inconsistent, yet consistent it is. Consistent meaning they only complain when they don't feel like I'm being transparent enough about a loss, but they do not care at all when I have that same policy, that same formula for how we post things on winning games. So always find that very, very interesting. We may talk about that later in the show. But last week, everybody wins. They're excited about the $99 special. The reality is, Brandon, if you sign up now, even through Halloween, you're paying less than what you paid for the weekend every week through the month. It's $99 if you signed up on Saturday for Saturday, Sunday, Monday last week. This week, $4.99 will get you everything through Halloween. There's 5 full weekends of football. So do the math. It's $100, and you're getting all the weekday games, which, by the way, that money spends exactly the same as the weekend money. We're making a lot of money during the week. With this last week was the first time we had any losses on Monday or Thursday or Friday. We'd won every one of those leading up. That money spends the same as the Saturday, Sunday money. Also the baseball. The base is predominantly a weekday activity. Those games are on a 13-3 run. That money spends just like Saturday and Sunday selection money does. So get signed up long-term. Through the Super Bowl is even less money. It's a great time to get signed up, great time to win. Go to fatjacksports.com, sign up and win this weekend. Last week, before we turn the page, Brandon, last week, really, really interesting in both college and the NFL. And we're going to talk NFL after the break, so I'll save that. But college, a lot of the best teams, we already talked about them not covering still. There were some teams that did, but the Colorado Buffalo, that had more money bet on them on a money line. I mean, this is why casinos get rich and why sportsbook get rich. People are betting Colorado on the money line after they saw them almost lose to Colorado State, which nobody thinks is any good.
And honestly, probably should have lost to Nebraska the week before.
Probably could have lost to Nebraska. I mean, this team could have one win, honestly, to this point. But people still throwing just caution to the wind and betting this 21-point underdog on the money line. I wish I was a sports book for the day. I mean, it just really was. And I'm not sitting here telling you that all my clients got Oregon minus the points. I'm not saying it was a sure thing they were going to cover, although I absolutely would have bet Oregon over Colorado based on a million different reasons, and actually did bet a little bit of money on the Oregon money line. All the money going in on the Colorado money line brought that Oregon money line where there was a little bit of value to it. I didn't bet the house or anything. It didn't win a lot, but I won a few dinners on it. Just an extra nothing bet that I wouldn't send out to people. I'm not going to encourage people to play a, minus 800 or minus 900 money line bet. But
can you imagine signing up for a handicapper and they give that out?
Yeah, and there are guys out there that do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
then we'll pound their chest, be like, "Oh, we were 6-1 last week."
Yeah, they go brag
because you gave out 21-point favorites as money line.
Yeah, go brag from the rooftops about how well that went, and that happened well in one game, and then the next game they'll turn around and lose. This week, Colorado gets USC, no rest for the weary, and USC at 1,800 money line. So that shows where the value was last week. The line isn't any different, yet the value on the money line had dropped to almost a little below double digits, so it made a little bit of value there. But again, I'm not going to send out a minus 21 favorite to play on the money line. Because most people don't need to be risking that much money to, you can win $5. Who cares? So this week, college football, Brandon, last week we had just a bevy of 3-0 teams versus 3-0 teams. First time since 2000, we had 6 matchups of undefeated teams. This week, we stepped back a little bit, but still some intriguing matchup. What jumps out at you this week?
There's some fun ones. You mentioned USC going to Colorado. I'm intrigued to see, say, Utah and going to Oregon State. Utah under a winner for us last weekend, but that offense really kind of struggling to get things going. Kansas goes back to Texas. LSU, Ole Miss, and I'm curious to see what Notre Dame can do going on the road against a ranked Duke team.
Yeah, I went all very good games. I came on this show. Maybe it was on the podcast. Probably was the show, I think. And about 3 weeks ago, and I said, watch out for Oregon State.
Yep, that was the team that you thought you were ahead of the curve on was
Ahead
the
of the
quote
curve.
you used.
That curve was a cliff.
It flattened quick.
I thought it was a curve. I thought it was a dead hands curve around to the left side of the mountain. It was actually a road to off the cliff into the ravine and a big explosion at the bottom. This team, although has some pieces, and I will tell you, Brandon, there's still math there that says they're going to be significant in the Pac-12. 9-1 against the spread their last 10 at home. So this team is, and by the way, they were 9-0 before this last game. They didn't cover this last time out. But 9-1 against the spread their last 10 at home, really, really good. So this team is dangerous, to say the least. And I've loved Utah. I picked them to win the Pac-12.
Yep.
Actually, they're one of our preseason bets to bet on winning was Pac-12. They were an underdog, obviously, to USC. That I felt like they were in a good spot to win the conference. So that would better watching game at this point in the week than it is a betting. But I'm with you. I'm interested in that. You mentioned Duke. Duke is quietly doing nothing but dominating spelling bees and taking midterms and killing the grades and getting ready to kill life, and also dominating on the football field. What's interesting about them, Brandon, is they're doing it from the line of scrimmage. These guys get it done up front, especially on their defensive line. They are dangerous. They get pressure on the passer with their front four. So a team that is doing nothing but win, and they get another test this week. And then you talk about Texas and Kansas. We have a lot of listeners in Texas and Kansas. This number, a little bit of a head scratcher. Kansas last week, one of our releases. They were a selection last week, 9.5-point favorite over BYU, and ended up winning and covering. So Kansas not sneaking up on us for sure. This line comes out, and this Texas team, it's all about matchups for Kansas. And they do not match up quite as well against this Texas team. And Kansas has had some success back when they were horrible against Texas.
Absolutely. And then to come into this game, though, as a 3-score underdog really kind of makes you wonder, because you look at the Texas wins, Jack. They beat Wyoming in a game where they kind of sleepwalked a little bit after that Alabama hangover. The Alabama win doesn't look all that great anymore, considering how ineffective Alabama's been offensively. But this is an opportunity, I think, for Texas to exercise a couple demons. One, prove that they can handle a quality conference opponent, and not forget that the last time Kansas played at that stadium, came away with a win.
In college and the NFL, there are some games this week that are matching up teams that they just own the other team for one reason or another, certain ways. So it's not always the best team owns it or the worst team. They just own a certain way. And this is one of those games. Texas, 17-2 straight up, their last 19 when playing Kansas. So you would call that owning. That's ownership.
That's big time disparity, sure.
Big time ownership. But Kansas 5-1 against the spread their last 6 when playing Texas. So Texas, so the personality of this series has been pretty consistent. Texas wins the game, Kansas covers the game. The numbers are always big. It's inflated toward the favorite.
Yep.
And they typically win and don't cover. That's why the general public loses so much money betting on sports, because of games exactly like this. They'll be like, well, Texas is at home. They're going to kill them. Now, Kansas is not the Kansas from a couple years ago, but keep that in mind that even a couple years ago, 3 years ago, when they were bad, they're covering the number more times than not when they play a team like Texas. So be very, very careful if you're jumping in that. The NFL has some of those games also. Who was I looking at that was exactly like that?
Is it Miami Buffalo?
It was not Miami Buffalo, although you're exactly right. Buffalo 9-1 straight up, their last 10 against Miami. Miami's covered 5 of their last games against the spread, and 5 of them on the road. It was the Cleveland Baltimore, exactly what I was talking about. So Baltimore, it's just like Cleveland last week when they played Pittsburgh, or a couple weeks ago now. When they play Pittsburgh, they just typically don't cover, and they don't win. And this is one of those games where it doesn't matter how good Cleveland is or how more good Baltimore is. Baltimore typically wins and covers. Cleveland has covered 5 of their last 6 games at home, but they don't do a lot of covering against Baltimore. Baltimore 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games, and Baltimore 12-3 against the spread their last 15 games when they go play at Cleveland. So there's a few more of those up and down the card that we'll look at as we go through the show. But good opportunities to kind of look at some of these stats. Stats you can make into a lot of different things, but sometimes you get a personality of these matchups, and they more times than not continue. That Texas-Kansas game, certainly one of those. Go to fatjacksports.com. Get signed up, guys. If you're betting the games this weekend, we're going to have another really, really good weekend. I'm going to be in London. I haven't lost in London since I've been going to London. London is a very, very profitable place for me. And I know that without even having to look, because I'm betting British pounds over there. I bet the first weekend's games in Vegas. That's always fine. I make a lot of money there. But when you're betting British pounds, I either have to call in and get somebody to work on my app out of Vegas, which I do that some at times, or I will bet British pounds. And they don't have 100 in British pounds, Brandon. So if you walk up to the window with British pounds, and I get a voucher because it's just such a debacle.
Much easier, sure. Because I think, what are the largest they have? 20?
50. You get 50. They're 50s. But if you bet, let's even $3,000. That's 60 bills.
That's a thick amount of paper for one wager.
And the bills are so slippery. They're slippery. They're like they have a sheen to them.
Mm-hmm. It's like almost like a little plasticky coating, to where it's like Monopoly money isn't even this tricky.
So I bet $10,000. It's exactly what it's like. It's like Monopoly money. You're exactly right. Old school Monopoly money with a sheen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walk up there with, you bet $10,000. I mean, you looks like you robbed a bank. I mean, and the bills are that you better have a hold tight on them, or they will slip out of your hand and go all over the floor with a bunch of 25-cent horse racing bettors, which are typically what are hanging out at Betfred's or wherever I'm betting over there. So bottom line is, we're going to win again this weekend and next weekend, as I'll be in London, as I do every year when I go over there. Don't miss out. It's less than $100 a week when you sign up long-term. Go through Halloween. Give yourself a month to build profit, to make money consistently. You can do that, but you can't. If you're missing games, you're missing weeks. Well, I didn't do this. I thought he would do that. All this stuff. You're just costing yourself money. Because my clients and I are winning. We're going to continue to win. If you're not winning, it's because I promise you didn't sign up in January. You didn't sign up in February when you were supposed to. You didn't sign up in the preseason. You signed up for a weekend. You didn't you played a day off. You didn't get this bet in. You got upset about that. Whatever. You have an excuse. Don't do that this weekend. Go to fatjacksports.com. $4.99 everything through Halloween. A lot less expensive for longer-term packages. You can get this weekend if you want. You're going to Vegas or Kansas or Chicago or wherever to bet these games around the country, New York, New Jersey. Get the plays when you go for the weekend. Get that weekend package. Otherwise, get a longer-term package and start building profit consistently with the rest of us at fatjacksports.com. When you take a break?
We do. We need to talk in the next segment about how the public may be overreacting to what Miami did, and how the sports books obviously are not.
What's fun? We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about. I just did the content show for Beat the Odds TV show. I'm going to bring that up on that show. I'm also bringing up freight trains, good and bad. How you handle teams that are running really, really hot or really, really bad. Because honestly, Brandon, that's one of the main ways that I make a ton of money. As it sometimes in spots just like last week, when you have Dallas losing to Arizona, you have Jacksonville losing to Houston, and you have Kansas City thrown in there in that same mold. How do you know which ones are going to be good or not? Or how do you know when to stay away? I've been really, really good at that. We're going to talk more about that and much, much more. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Fat Jack Sports Hour.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Hey, it's Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. We are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every weekend. Plus, see funny clips from the show, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected to the Fat Jack at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host, Mr. International himself. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you, Brandon, so much. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 2. And a busy, busy week. Everybody has things to complain about this time of year. Love them. Love the emails about people just BITC about absolutely nothing. They're mad about how we post and how we did this. Nobody posts anything. Nobody's transparent about anything I post it all. People still find a way to be upset about it. It's absolutely unbelievable. This is why I am not going to return any more emails, Brandon. I'm getting ready to send them all to you. This happens about once a year. I get fed up. And the next emails that come in, you're getting them. So do your best.
I mean, it's a hat that I wear well.
Good, because it is. I just want to call them names. Honestly, that's all I wanted, and I don't want to call them names via email. I want to call them, have them
on
call
the phone,
me,
like have them hear your voice say those words.
Tell them that they are haters and idiots and deserve to lose.
Yep.
It's very few of them. 99%. I would say this. I say this once a month. 99% of the clients, great. They enjoy winning. I cannot have a winning week and not get complaints. I cannot have a losing week. It doesn't matter. That 1% is going. They're going to give me a heart attack. And I promise you, the 99% of the clients don't want me spending 1 second talking to some idiot who wants to know why I don't post all of the opinions, or somebody else wants me posting none of the opinions because they're optional. Everybody's got an opinion about opinions, and everything has an opinion about baseball. Everybody has an opinion about UFC. Everybody has an opinion. Bottom line is I'm the only person that posts anything at all. So fatjacksports.com, if you want transparency and winning weeks, go get signed up. This is year 27. We're winning again. We're due for a really, really big week. It is coming. Although 6-2 is not bad. That's a good selection. If I had run off another 4 or 5 games of opinion, and by the way, we don't talk opinions over the year, we're making money.
Right.
So it's not opinion. If you're living and dying by 1 day worth of opinions, you're a loser. Don't be a loser. Quit be a losing gambler. Play the selections you won. Play the opinions for half. You still won on the week. Play the opinions all year long, and the selections all year long, you're winning. Do the right thing. Quit being so inconsistent. And then most importantly, quit emailing me stupid questions. Get signed up today and start winning. Brandon, NFL, we're talking about off the break. A lot happened last week that was different in the NFL. Tell us about it.
So this week, the first time in NFL history that 3 underdogs of a touchdown or more won outright. The Cardinals, Colts, and Texans were all touchdown underdogs. All of them won. Obviously, we've been doing this for a long time. Never seen 3 outright winners with a combined 26, 27 point underdog spreads that covered. That was pretty crazy weekend in the NFL. On top of the fact that you had a team score 70 points in week 3. It was a wild week.
So probably a good time to talk about parity in the league.
Yes.
A lot of parity in the league. You're going to see that. You're going to have big numbers. And some of those teams are not, as Brandon alluded to, not going to win typically, but they're going to cover, which is mainly what we care about. What's less surprising about that, because we talk about regression all the time, teams that play really good or really bad kind of coming back to the mean. And what we had through the first part of the NFL season, where we had teams were undefeated, Brandon, if they were a touchdown or more, not even double digits, a touchdown or more. They were undefeated. They were undefeated against the spread and were winning about an average of 15 points. So it had been the other way. You weren't even needing double digits to cover and win. You were just needing a touchdown or more. Those teams were winning. They were covering. It looked like we had got teams into one of 2 categories, either really bad or really good. And the minute you do that in the NFL and try to bet on that, it jumps up and it kicks you in the you-know-what. And that's what happened. You had teams that the survivor pools, you don't know what a survivor pool is. There are contests around the country. Circa has one in Vegas, $1,000 a head. They have thousands of entries. You pick one team a week straight up. So no points, no nothing. Over half of the field had Jacksonville and or Dallas. They're all out because you have to pick a winner with that, and you can only use a team once, I guess is the rule in that. Or there may be a side rule. But yeah, that's what the NFL is. You have to be very, very careful. Now, there are some teams that are freight trains one way or the other, and you need to be a little bit careful unless you can read between the lines and you know what you're looking for at Vegas. You talked about Miami before we went to the break. They would be considered a freight train at this point.
Absolutely. You win by 50 on your home field. Now you go on a divisional road game, and you're a 2.5 point underdog.
And not just won by 50, Brandon. This is a team that had gone to the West Coast and scored upper 30s or 40 points. This team offensively has been a juggernaut.
Yep. That's the exact word I would have used. Yes.
Yeah, they're going to they're to the point now where the general public, who doesn't really know what they're looking at, will they will end up betting them based simply on what's happened the first 3 weeks, because you feel like you're getting some consistency there. you feel like you're getting consistency there. Miami going to score a bunch of points, and you feel like you're getting consistency that the Chicago Bears stink. Those two are two ends of the spectrum. I would caution guys that are going to bet based on what you've seen to remind yourself of what you were saying leading into week 1 about the Arizona Cardinals. Were we not talking about the Arizona is going to tank?
Yep.
They were trading all their players. They had no quarterback. They had nothing. Arizona has done nothing but cover every single week, and they just beat the Dallas Cowboys as a 13 or 14-point underdog.
And honestly, they're a possession away from being 2-1 right now, and tied for the NFC West lead.
They were leading every game into the second quarter. My point is not shame on you for not liking Arizona based on what ESPN told you they were going to do. My point is when you're looking going forward, don't make the same mistakes again. Now the Chicago Bears, absolutely. I don't know how this team's going to turn around. Although I will tell you, they are now the next 7 games that the Bears play. Their teams so far this year are combined, I think, 6-15.
Ooh.
So they.
So what you're saying is, if you're a Bears fan, don't jump off the ledge just yet. You might have ample time to do that after Halloween, but as of right now,
I guess all I'm saying is go get your jersey that you burned out back, out of the fire. See if you can patch it up. Go 70s on them, patch that thing up, and just hold on to it for a couple more. Now, if they go through the next 3-4 weeks and they don't win all of them, okay, yeah. And they're not making the playoffs, but this is a team. We have teams every year, Brandon, that start out one way and end a totally different way.
Sure.
And although right now, I would say I couldn't tell you how. This is not a team that you want to be placing any hard cash on. We see teams every year that turn it around, and this is the type of schedule that you need to be able to do that. So
the Bears' schedule next 5 weeks: Broncos at home, at Washington, who isn't setting the world on fire, at Minnesota, home for Minnesota, who's winless, the Raiders, who may not have Jimmy Garoppolo, and the Chargers, who just got their first win.
So I'm just trying. I'm trying to shine a little bit of light. That if you are lost and you have your defensive coordinator's house raided and you get your stuff stolen from the facility and your quarterback blames everything on the coaches and you go out and lose by 1,000 to the defending Super Bowl champions, if all those things happen, you still might have a skylight in that camper of yours and the sun may shine in. And if it does, this 7 weeks could change it around. You could end up moving into the penthouse by the time we get to Thanksgiving if you could take care of business. So it's better than them playing, a multitude of other teams. I could list off. How about if they had the Ravens and the Rams and the Colts and the
Dolphins and yeah, let's just, or they had to play the Jets defense. That would be a 3-2 game.
Yeah,
and they still may not win.
Or 49. I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of teams that beat them by 1,000, but this is not it. This is a team. This is a group of also teams licking their wounds that might give you an opportunity to make some money and or get back on track. If you want to make the money, they'll go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up. Less than $100 a week, $4.99 everything through Halloween or less, depending on when you're listening to the show. But $4.99 to get you everything through the Halloween, or about $80 a week, actually $75 a week to get everything through the Super Bowl. Also, Brandon, NBA starts up in about 2.5 to 3 weeks. So I
started seeing preseason hockey scores, and my brain exploded a little bit. It's like we just started football season. Yep. But yeah, the stark reality is that October is here. Playoff baseball is here, which means the NHL, the NBA, college basketball are nearing very quickly.
Yeah, and I should say this, we don't say it enough. Baseball plays are still free this time of year. So if you sign up for any football and or combo package, you get the bases for free. Those plays on a 13-3 run over the last couple of weeks. The playoffs are here. We always win in the playoffs. Always. I mean, always. I never charge, which I should, and they always win. And I'm not going to charge because they always win. I want everybody to win. So that's the idea here is let's get some winners out there for free to bolster your bankroll while you're winning at football and or basketball. So go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up. You'll get those bases thrown in absolutely free. 0-3 against the spread teams in the NFL, Brandon. Chicago, Denver, the Giants, Carolina, Minnesota, New Orleans, Cincinnati. Again, Chicago, Denver, Giants.
This week.
Carolina, Minnesota, New Orleans, Cincinnati. Which of those teams most likely to get off the snide from a against the spread standpoint and cover the number?
taking out Denver and Chicago.
Well,
Because
somebody
they
has to cover.
That's true. That is true.
I don't need them to win. Somebody's just got to cover. So where are you going if you just have to cover this week?
I mean, I would think Minnesota. I mean, their offense is good enough to be able to put them in positions to win games. That said, I'm gonna trust Denver. I think Sean Payton can at least do something to get them to rally the troops enough to get in position to win and cover a game. So it would be them and then Minnesota.
Yeah, 0-3 teams against the spread playing each other, I guarantee you historically are going to look underdogs. And you got the Vikings as a favorite at the Panthers, and you got Denver as a favorite at the Bears. A couple of road dogs of teams that haven't covered anything and haven't won anything. None of those two games. I mean, those are the Murder, She Wrote games of the week.
Yes,
I mean,
that is definitely the post church dinner nap game.
Yeah, or get the NFL. That is why people buy the NFL ticket. There's certain weeks that just everybody signs up for the service, and this is an NFL ticket week. If you haven't already,
or if you watch Red Zone, it's a game or it's a day where you may see a combined 6 minutes of action from those games.
Yeah, so the good news is there are some have games also, some games that we're going to be able to separate a little bit. The Bucs play at New Orleans. Those are two surprise teams right now. That whole division is a surprise division.
It really is. They had definitely had the possibility to be the worst division in football, and right now it might be one of the most competitive.
Yeah, and other games that are you have good teams. I'm not sure people thought would be as good as they are. The Colts playing host to the Rams. That's a really interesting game. Rams a 1.5 favorite on the road at the Colts. So a lot of different places to make money. If you want to make a lot of money, go to fatjacksports.com and get signed up. All right, we have time for mail time, or do you want to take a break?
Let's do a mail time. I feel intrigued after a week where things were good, but then they also had some rough stretches. I'm curious to see what the mailbox has.
The mailbox has what I've been complaining about since we started the show. People want us to post different ways our results. They don't like the way we post results. Nobody likes anything about anything. Everybody's mad about everything. That is the rule and the lesson of sports gamblers that lose on their own this time of year. They are looking for shade. They are looking for sketch around every corner, including places that there is none. We've been doing this for 27 years. You play the selections. If you want to play the opinions, they are optional. It says all this on the questions tab. Go read the questions tab. It's very simple. If you want to play the opinions, they're optional. We recommend you play all of them or none of them. And from a recording standpoint, we record all of it. We record the selections. We record the opinions. We record the elite plays, which are lower rated. They broke even this last week, did not have their best week. They've won every week, those lower rated plays. If you want more information on that, go to the package tab, scroll to the bottom, you can read about that. Lower rated plays, not better plays, blah, blah, blah. The problem with getting big at this, Brandon, is that we have thousands of clients around the country, and they all have different objectives on what line we use, how we go. Everything is up for debate, question, sketch on the mail time, and they all want specific answers. So I guess my question to you is, how much time should I be putting in to explaining to one or two idiots on why we post what we post and how the results are labeled as they are? How much time should I be putting in, or how much time should you be putting in?
10 minutes the first week of the year. After that, it's all like, go back to square one.
I'm damaging the rest of the clients by doing that, right?
Absolutely, because any moment that you're on the phone, answering email, replying to Instagram DMs, is time taking away from you breaking down whether Atlanta's going to beat Jacksonville in London this weekend. It's taking away from what you do best, and the other thousands of clients who pay you for this knowledge, for this service, are being robbed because one person has a stick up their butt.
Yeah. Okay. So that's fair. And I think you're exactly right. How much time should you be putting into this?
I mean, in theory, hey, I'll limit myself to an hour a week.
Okay. Because I want to just tell these people to go find somebody else that Honestly, go find somebody else that documents anything and sign up for them. See if that does any better for you. Because there's two things. Number one, there's 0% chance they would beat me. And number two, there is nobody else that documents like we do.
Sure.
Actually, one other company, and they don't beat us. So unfortunately, you can get documentation of worst plays from one other company. That's it. So we're it. We are McDonald's.
Which side of the bread do you want it buttered on?
That's right. We are McDonald's, and there is no Burger King across the street.
They're
All
McDowell's.
there is, there's McDowell's, and McDowell's doesn't serve
Sesame
French fries.
seeds.
Sesame seeds and no special sauce, no nothing. So you go over there, you can get worse burgers for the same amount of money, if not more, or you can stay with McDonald's and get exactly what you want and start winning. So FatJackSports.com, sign up today, win this weekend for less than $100 when you go even through Halloween.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour, and now here is our host for the final time this week before he jettisons off to jolly old England. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour. Segment number 3, getting you ready for the weekend. Go to FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. Less than $100 a week for even the packages through October and beyond. I first have to go to Vegas, so I fly to Vegas to tape the TV show, and it's become a little bit touch and go with the TV show. Everything's good, but I continue to say things. When we're taping this show, Brandon, there's like 15 people that are either Skyped in or in the studio, all gathered around the microphone, waiting for me to say something that's going to get us thrown off the air.
Or just you to get thrown off the show. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah,
it's touch and go, I'm sure. Yeah,
it is every week. Our host, the host, who's a great dude named Dave Hall, he said this last week. He said, Jack, they hired you because you're you.
Right.
They built this show around you because you're you. Sometimes you're gonna walk up to the line. I'm not even saying things that's that bad. Like this last week, all I said, I may have even said it on the radio show, but I said after Justin Fields said that his coaches were to blame for his bad play, I basically said on I said, that's like cheating on your wife and then blaming it on her. It might be true, but nobody wins by you saying that.
Somebody in a suit will use that as a reason to be like, why do we keep this guy? Like, what are we doing? And then they watch the rest of the show and they're like, okay, yeah.
What's funny is that one sentence, one guy will say, how have we let this guy on TV?
Mm-hmm.
It's not why do we keep him? It's how did we let him on TV? And then there's about 10 of them that say, we only have this show because he's that way.
Right.
Otherwise, we're not on TV. Nobody cares because there's a million different talking heads giving away a million different sports picks and hitting about 35%.
Right.
That's what else is out there. Turn it on. Turn on wager. All the different things. Turn it on. You're getting the same talking heads that aren't betting a lot of money, giving 1,000 picks and hitting about 35%. So, but I walk up to the line every week. They threaten, every time we walk out there, say, Jack, we're just wondering if we have to call human resources today. I asked Teddy in the content meeting, the other guy on the show, I said, Teddy, you got any panty dropping information for us this week? On the Zoom call, which has 15 different executives and different things. So I thought that was appropriate. I said, this is where we normally throw in some of your panty dropping information, Teddy. What do you got?
That's who you can always tell when you're on a Skype call who's paying attention and who's not. Because especially if you're on one of the ones, like you said, there's 8, 9, 15 people, and everyone's little box is doing their own little things. They're not looking at the camera per se. They're looking at themselves in the camera, or they're watching something off screen. All of a sudden, the heads snap to the camera. That's when you know who's paying attention in those meetings. It's
so funny. And if you're watching the podcast of the show, you can see the view they're getting. Over my shoulder are 2 half-naked pictures of me at Pebble Beach posing in the distance. So I say these things, and you're right, Brandon. The minute I do, all 15 heads look at their screen. About 3 of them put their hands in their head, their hands in their face. There's 2 or 3 more that are basically falling out of their chair laughing.
Luckily they're on mute, because I'm sure if there's someone in that meeting that if they heard someone laughing would be like, okay, why?
Well, what they'll do, and a lot of them are in cubes in an office. I'll see a couple of them stand up, and you can see they stood up to look at each other Like, here he goes again.
Did this guy really just say this?
Yeah, they're not getting that at Fox 5 in Las Vegas very often. They're not getting those type of comments. I mean, but yeah, so I'm going to Vegas first, place the bets for the week, do the show, then off to London for 2 weeks worth of winners. Go to fatjacksports.com if you want to win. And hey, by the way, I don't push the TV show a lot. It's a nationally televised TV show, syndicated around. It's on the Yes Network in New York. It's on in Boston. It's on in Seattle. 150 markets around the country. Or go to bettheoddstv.com and you can watch it online. Now, if you live in Oklahoma, you don't get, you live in Wichita Falls, you do get it. Amarillo, you get it. Dallas, you get it. Kansas City, you get it. But not in Oklahoma City. I don't know why. They just don't. They don't own any of those stations or whatever. But it runs all over the country. So you should really, and besides the fact that it's entertaining, I'm undefeated. My pick of the week is undefeated on that. We break down props. Those props are very, very good. They've been making money. Teddy and I fight over things about that. So a lot of different ways to get dialed in and make extra money by going to Beat the Odds TV and watching the TV show that I'm on each and every week. Brandon, give me a couple games this week in the NFL that jump out at you as places you think you can make some money, and let's see if we can get some people some free winners before we head off.
I have a college one that I'll throw out as well. But as far as the NFL goes, Indianapolis hosting the Rams. Gardner Minshew in this offense probably is what the Colts should be doing at quarterback. I mean, Anthony Richardson, obviously, as we all know, is a project. He didn't play that much at Florida. And the fact that he got hurt, Gardner Minshew has come in and made that team competitive. Now they turn around after stealing a win in Baltimore, who, by the way, your Super Bowl pick, turn around and play a Sean McVay offense, which is really going to try to test them in a lot of different ways. I'm very excited to see what the Colts can do and to prove that last week wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, I will tell you, Brandon. I this last week, 2 weeks ago, I released them. And I got and then when Richardson went down, I got about 2 or 3 emails saying, well, does that change anything? Blah, blah, blah. And of course, I don't respond to those ever, because if something was changing, then I would send out an update, change. But the reality is with Indianapolis, like I told you a couple weeks ago on the podcast show, I talked to 2 of the sports books guys,
line setters,
line setters, and I got a value on every single quarterback, on what their value is to the line. And Gardner Minshew actually was worth points, not taking points away based on what Richardson is at this point in his career. So I, of course, didn't care who played at quarterback. It's not been surprising at all. He's the best backup in the league, without a doubt. He could start. By the way, Jets might want to look into it. I mean, there's a number of teams out there that are quarterback away from being a lot better than they are right now. And we saw with Baker Mayfield that just a change of scenery sometimes
can really,
really help. So I'm telling you, Minshew is that, and nobody's going to let him go at this point.
No.
But he is absolutely that. And you're right. The Rams, a team, 5 of the last 5 Rams games have gone over in this series. So when these two teams get together, there's typically a lot of offense. The Rams on the road have not scored a bunch of points. So that is an interesting one from a betting standpoint. What else do you like? And by the way, I would lean toward the Rams. I still think there's some value with the Rams at this point in the year. People are not buying into what they've done, even though they've been competitive. The last-second field goal against San Fran was not their entire season so far. So I do think there's a little bit of value, and that's why they're a favorite on the road. Who in college are you looking at?
Jacksonville State. You got Rich Rodriguez, who obviously was famously head coach at Arizona and West Virginia, did a lot of things. He's taken that program, which was an FCS program not too long ago, help them really make the transition into to big boy Division I football. They're playing at Sam Houston, laying 6.5. This is an offense that's rather explosive. Sam Houston's undefeated. The fact that the number's that low scares me a little bit, but I think Jacksonville State is a darn good football team, and that is a team that is going to get somebody in a bowl game, a Power 5 school that is down on their luck, and they're going to knock the snot out of a team that's well above their status in January or December. But as of right now, that's a fun team to watch, and I think that they handle business against Sam Houston State.
The reason Jacksonville State is that low of a favorite is because they have, I want to say, second or third best defense in college football. They are absolutely dialed in. The yards per play number is very, very low with them. Not overall defense. You still have Air Force leading the way, the overall defense, and Michigan after that. But Jacksonville State yards per play, it's down to about 3.4. So that's why you're looking defense versus offense number. That's why that number's so low. In college football, I would give people this. We talked about Kansas a little bit and the big number that they are getting at Texas. I do think there's a little value there. The problem I have there is that Vegas is pretty well dialed in on who Kansas is. I think a lot of people, when they saw double digits against BYU, they were like, no, wait a minute. That's
myself
a lot
included. Yeah, especially considering BYU had just won at Arkansas.
At Arkansas, exactly. And so they're like, wait a minute. Well, some of these teams – Vegas gets dialed in on who they match up well against and who they don't. The line tells me they do not like the matchup from a matchup standpoint against Texas. I could give you a bunch here. We're going to have another deep card, it looks like. But I would say this. Teams like let's look at Michigan, Nebraska. This Michigan team is a team that has not covered at all. And I was looking between the Texas, Kansas, which is also about 17 points in this Michigan, Nebraska. And I do think Nebraska is a little bit easier play. Michigan's covered no games so far this year. They're 0-3-1 against the spread. They don't care about covering numbers. The total's super low. Nobody's going to score a bunch of points. Michigan has started slow, and Nebraska's not going to roll over at home when you get that crowd. So I think this game is a first half bet for Nebraska. Also think it's probably a game bet. So if you're looking for free plays, which is what we're trying to do right now, look for Nebraska plus the points in the first half and Nebraska in the game. If they don't win, don't email me. All right, we're not releasing Nebraska in the first half or Nebraska. Then go follow us on Twitter at FatJackSports. I'll give you another free winner that will win. I think I gave New England last week. They won on Twitter. I forget who the college one was. I didn't hear it. I know they didn't lose a bunch because I would have heard from 5 or 6 people.
1,000%. There's some dude, I guarantee, who has his notifications turned on. So anytime you tweet or X post, I refuse to call it X, but anytime you send out something on Twitter, you'll get a notification on his phone, and he screenshots it because he's waiting for that game to go final so he can post you if you lose.
Free win or loss, Jack. That kind of stuff. So I know they won because I didn't get any of that. So go follow us on Twitter at FatJackSports. I haven't shut down my Twitter account just yet, although I may. By the time everybody turns over to where they are calling it X-Man or whatever we're trying to call it, I may shut the whole darn thing down. So how are we doing on time?
We got about 5 minutes left here.
All right, great. So let's give away a couple more free winners and get ready, people, to make some money. I haven't given away the website, fatjacksports.com. Get signed up today. Players are text to your cell phone, they're emailed to you, and they're going to make you some money. What about I want to talk about these freight train teams and what we do with them. So the Miami Dolphins, what about team total, Brandon? You like that at all? If you were going to bet this game, what about just team total, them scoring over 28 points?
Against most teams, I would say yes. However, Buffalo's defense is obviously one of the better ones in the league. And from an offensive standpoint, they play offense from a defensive mindset. They're looking to run the football, keep everything in bounds, and really try to limit the amount of exposure that they have in getting Josh Allen, keeping him from getting hurt. He goes against that at times, so it makes it hard to kind of judge what Buffalo is going to do offensively. From a team total standpoint, though, it's hard to not take a team that scored 70 a week ago. But at Buffalo, it's a tough place to play because the fans are right on top of you, and they may be throwing sex toys at you. You never know what you're going to get when you go up there. But a divisional game, Miami's not going to do anything that Buffalo hasn't seen before. So I might actually kind of lean under. The total in this game, Jack's only 53.5. So if you're going with that mindset, if Miami's gonna at a 2.5 point underdog, they score 28. I think that has to lean under.
Well, what do we know about the problem? Is what we know about Buffalo, Brandon. This is a team that lost to the Jets without Aaron
Rodgers, right?
And turned the ball over 57 times. They beat the Raiders. That we just talked. The Raiders are not any good, and without Garoppolo, they're even worse. And now they beat the Commanders, that had started out the season really hot, but who had they played really? So what we know a ton about Miami. We know a lot about this team. This team has been road tested.
Yep.
They went way west and played a very
Played the
dangerous Chargers team. The Chargers, you say, well, that didn't look good. Remember, the Chargers are the first team in the history of the league with 50 points and no turnovers that had been 0-2 through 2 weeks. That just did not happen. 50 points, no turnovers through 2 weeks, and we're 0-2. That has not happened in the league until the Chargers. So they were certainly not a horrible team, and they played them at their place. Then Miami comes back home. They take care of business there and embarrass Denver. So I just think, and they won in between there too. So I just think what we're learning is that speed does kill, not just on the streets of Chicago and Oklahoma City and wherever, but it kills on the football field. This Miami Dolphins has next level speed, and they're frankly outscoring people. So I'm with you. My free winner last week and one of our plays last week with my clients was under the total in the Buffalo Commanders game. Was an easy winner. They actually had a pick six and a couple of their short fields. Still didn't get close to going over. But I don't know that we know anything about this Buffalo team. So it would worry me if I was a Dolphins fans that they are an underdog, because I think Vegas does know. And they're saying what you're saying. Well, Miami hasn't played anybody that's good on the defensive side. And so now they're going to get a good defensive team on the road with all sorts of issues in a place where they call themselves the Mafia, even though they are not part of a Mafia. Those type things would lead you to pause a little bit. But points are coming. The Dolphins win at the Patriots, I think, is going to end up being a better win down the line. But this team is road tested. I would probably stay away from it with you. I would go under the total to overall, and I would probably go under the Dolphins team total. But I don't trust Josh Allen enough to know he's not going to turn the ball over just yet. So those are definitely some better spots if you're going to be betting that game. Go to fatjacksports.com if you want to make some money this weekend with the best plays. We're going to have a great week. We're not going to put you on like last week teams like Jacksonville, Baltimore, and Dallas. It didn't cover anything. All of you that had Jacksonville, Baltimore, and Dallas last week, you need to get signed up today. You are following the information you saw from the week before, and you are going to lose for sure.
All right, Jack. So it's Ryder Cup week. We don't talk a lot of golf on this show, obviously, because of everything that we do, it's mainly focused on football and basketball. But with you being in London this weekend, we'll have an international flair to the Ryder Cup, which is really good quality television. As a golf fan, have you are you a Ryder Cup fan, and do you enjoy the team aspect of golf?
I've been a Ryder Cup fan. There's two things that have turned me off to it. And by the way, it's in Italy, which I really should think about going to, but I can't because I'm doing the NFL stuff. But there's two things that have turned me off to it. Number one are the stupid outfits that they wear getting off the planes. Their girlfriends and wives are all dressed the same. Like, I mean, have we not seen enough of the spoiled, entitled white dudes and their hot girlfriends because they hit a ball a long way?
I appreciate it because it does kind of give it kind of like the Olympics. You have your opening ceremonies uniform, and then you have your competition uniform. But you're right. You're stepping off a private jet. The last thing I need to see is tailored Ralph Lauren.
Your hot girlfriend wearing something.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I get it if they were competing. The Olympians, the Olympians have the crap on, but you don't look up into the stands and see his girlfriend up there, wearing a team jersey also. Yeah. That looks stupid. The other thing that's turned me off the Ryder Cup, to the point I'm almost pulling against America. I am absolutely a believer that if you're going to have an event like this, you have the best players from your country on that team. And I don't give a rip whether they took a deal and playing in Saudi Arabia most of the year or not. That is not important. If you're going to have a team of it, this is not even the best Americans. So I'm hoping with the lineup that they put together, I'm kind of hoping they don't win.
Somehow the Europeans were still an underdog. I don't get it. But I'm with you. If Dustin Johnson's not on your squad, you lessen your chance of winning.
It's like showing up with the Olympic basketball team and not having the NBA players. If you're going to play it, I'm fine. It's okay. I'm still, hope you do well. Hope everybody has a great time. Eat lots of, empanadas and stuff. That's all awesome. But if you're not taking the best players, I don't care. This is not a representative of American basketball because you don't have our best American players over there. Or hockey, pick a sport.
Yep.
But in golf, that's exactly what they've done. They've turned this into a lesser event with a bunch of stupid outfits from a bunch of rich, white, entitled people that have gotten their panties in a wad because guys went and took a deal to play in another league that, oh, by the way, now they're joined with. The whole thing is stupid now, at least till further notice. So, yes, I'm a golf fan. I played a lot of golf, back in the day, played in college. And like golf, like watching, all that kind of stuff, I'm sick of the outfits of the girlfriends, and I'm absolutely disgusted that they don't have the best players on the team.
I would like to see some team events on the PGA Tour. I mean, maybe 4. I don't need a ton, but it would just be fun to say, you know what? Let's have a draft. We'll draft a foursome, and we'll take on anybody. I would love to see 2, 3, maybe even 4 events on the PGA Tour that adopted a team element.
They need to have the live guys team up on 3 or 4 different teams against the PGA guys on 3 or 4 different teams. We don't need to draft anything. Let's take the guys that left.
We already have the teams, you're saying.
We got them. People decided they were going to go play overseas for live, and other ones decided they weren't because I guess they thought they were better Americans. Whatever it is, there's your teams right there.
Okay.
Divide them up, and then let's talk some smack. Because they got some guys. I mean, what's his face?
I mean, you got Bubba Watson who can talk trash. Justin Johnson's a good trash talker.
The dudes that were – what's the guy that all his clubs are the same length? I just saw him hit a 400-yard drive today.
Bryson DeChambeau. I cannot stand that dude.
And him and the other guy – who's the other guy, the guy that won the major this year, right?
Brooks Koepka.
Him and Koepka already hate each other. And I know they're on the same little group in this deal, but those two guys are smack talkers. Rory McIlroy seems to think he is the god of golf. Put him over there with a couple guys. Let's put him on a microphone. Let's get after this stuff. And, oh, by the way, how about making the vast majority of the prize money for those events go to the team that wins?
Yeah, exactly.
You pay for a ham sandwich if you lose, and if you win, you get $5 million for your team. I mean, now I'm interested.
Now the stakes have been raised. Now we got intrigue.
Now there's much CTV. That's what I'm looking for in golf. I mean, let's heat it up. They're doing this. Lots of sports have done that. I have a beef with you. Let's settle it. That's what we should be doing. Let's settle it. And the losers need to be punished. Golf losers do not get punished. You lose in a playoff, you still make $1 million. Who's the loser there? So let's have some tournaments where smack talking is not every week. I'm with you. Integrity of the game, old school England, blah blah blah. But let's have a few events where your losers get ham sandwiches, the winners get all the cash, and let's talk some smack in between. That's must-see TV. Put it on pay-per-view. I'll pay for it.
And not have your wives and girlfriends in matching outfits.
Not if you're playing for America and you're not even the best players in America. No, I don't want to see it.
With the NFL season almost a quarter of the way through after this weekend, I hate to bring that up, but it is time, as you mentioned on the TV show or on the radio show, Jack, to really look into Super Bowl futures. We had one early in the year. Is there any adjustments or teams that have maybe shot up that the price is better on that we maybe need to look at?
Yeah, certainly some adjustments. And right now, and you're not going to get this every week because as these teams win, the numbers are going to go back down. But if you like San Francisco, Kansas City, or Philly, or Dallas for sure, or Miami, we just talked about Miami on the show, you're getting 9-1 with Miami and Dallas now. You're not going to get that in 3 weeks if they go 3-0, and especially Miami who goes and beats Buffalo, who's also 9-1. The winner, that's not going to be 9-1 next week. San Francisco, as they continue to dominate even the okay teams, you're never getting 6-1 again. So if you want to play the chalk, now is the time. And Kansas City at 7-1, they're normally like 2-1 preseason. But because they've got some issues, people think, you're getting some pretty good numbers there. So teams that have crept up the board that I would think about are San Francisco top to bottom is absolutely the best team. So if you're a bigger, better, I mean, it's probably worth $100 to put on San Francisco. Honestly, they're probably going to be in the game. Then you could hedge out for 200. You're still making 4 once you get them to the game, or at least get them to the NFC Championship game. Or Kansas. I cannot argue with them or Kansas City. I do not think Philly is going to get there. I don't think they're going to be playing late. I think Dallas is going to beat them. I think that division is going to have some vulnerability by the time we get to the end of the year. I could see the Giants winning a game or 2 in that division. So I'd be real careful about that. I don't love Dallas, but if I was a Dallas lover, I'd bet them now. Bet them right now after a loss on the road. This is when you find some value And everybody longer than that, we've either bet like Baltimore or Cincinnati. Too many issues at quarterback, bad offensive line. Detroit's still 20-1. Cleveland 22-1. Might get a long shot. Probably not though. So I think if you're going to bet a favorite, this is probably the time to do it. Look San Francisco or certainly Kansas City in that category. Go to fatjacksports.com. Follow us on Twitter at @FatJackSports. Wager responsibly. Don't drink and drive until next week. We got OU Texas next week.
Yep.
I think all sorts of big games coming up. So start October winning and join us next week. Until next week, for Brandon and the Fat Jack, this has been the Fat Jack Sports Hour.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.